Welcome to 1818 Farms. I'm the owner, Natasha McCrary, and we're going to discuss today how we make our small bouquets. So, I'm going to kind of take you through step by step. We have a definite process that we know at different times of the year how many stems we're going to cut and what are the ingredients of our bouquets. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is this is what we consider a small container. We always fill the container with water and tape a small grid. And this is important just to really, for those of you, there are many of you out there who do arrange to make sure, things don't wiggle in the beginning when you start out with your, especially the foliage. And the next thing we do is we drop in a CVBN tablet. And that is basically a lot of the flowers we're going to be using today are considered dirty flowers. And it causes the water to really green quickly. And this just helps cut down on that a little. Sometimes I do a half tablet, but today, because I'm going to be using so much celosia and the zinnias, I'm going to go ahead and do a full tablet. I just think this keeps your water cleaner and helps the hydration of the flowers. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the elements that we use. And as a flower farmer, when I'm planning the garden every year, I'm thinking, okay, am I going to have enough of these elements? So the first thing is going to be filler or foliage. And this changes throughout the year. Really, we're lucky now we're getting into the cinnamon basil, pineapple sage, and we've had Dusty Miller coming in for a long time, and these are going to be pretty standard in what we use in every small bouquet. Then we're going to go into our focals. For focals today, we're going to use the celosia, of course, my favorite, lisianthus, and then we're going to do one giant Benary giant zinnia. Then we're going to move over to our spikes. We're using several different types of spikes I'll talk about as we're arranging. Our smaller disc shape, and then what I classify as air. And this just gives it a little whimsy and also helps your arrangement not look so tight. But the first step that we always do is going to be put in our filler. And I feel like the filler is what gives your vase it's the backbone to the vase. And we always start, if we can on these small, with 2 Dusty Miller. And we kind of arrange those on the edge. So here's our Dusty Miller. And we just go right on the edge, kind of let them hang over the edge because I really love the color and the texture of the Dusty Miller. The heat, it's not loving the heat right now, but hopefully next year will be a little bit better, once we get into the spring months. The next thing we do is cinnamon basil. So the important thing about the basil is you always want to make sure it's woody. If you cut it when you're going to have mostly green, it's going to probably wilt, even if you'd use a quick dip. So we make sure the stem's very woody. So then we're going to take our cinnamon basil, and I love to kind of lean it to the edge because I like to hide the mechanics of the tape. That's like a big thing for me, and I just think the foliage looks great coming out of the side. We'll do a little bit. We may move this guy to the center because he's a little bit taller, and I like having this little sprig seed head here to the side. So we're kind of seeing, how the arrangement's going to look, doing a little turn. And we've got a hole here, but what I want to do now is come in with our pineapple sage, which it's the other thing. See how woody it is? Great, great filler. I encourage you guys, it's very inexpensive. All of these are. Put the pineapple sage in. It really starts, I call it, getting established this time of year when some things are starting to peter out. And so we're going to put the pineapple sage right in the center. And it really helps these heavier heads of the celosia stand. And then I've got a little guy. He was kind of like an outlier. And we're just going to tuck him on the side. Just have him, saying hello over here. So here you can see, and always spin your arrangement. Adjust it if you're not totally happy with how the filler looks, because this is going to affect the rest of your arrangement. And once you're ready to go, then we're going to move on to our focals. What we've done is we're kind of at the end of our first flush of lisianthus, which is perfectly fine for me when you're building small arrangements because we're able to split these smaller stems that are at the very tip. And we're going to kind of build in with these. And today we've got yellow, lavender, few white, and my favorite is this really beautiful pink. We're going to kind of look in, and I love the center of this one. And as I'm doing that, I'm just tucking them in. I've already kind of cut the stems earlier. Another thing to just remind you, if you're not a florist, is we always make sure we cut our stems at an angle, just so if they're resting on the bottom of the vase, you're not clogging their irrigation system. So we just kind of tuck in, continue to spin. I don't want him here because I've got a lavender here. I love when you have a little bit of the bloom at the top that hasn't opened. Now with the Lisianthus, once you cut that, it will never open. So you want to, for us in these, just have a little bit. He's peeping out. Just a little bit though, just adds interest. And we're just going to keep adding. I like to kind of spread the colors out. And if you've listened to us on the flower podcast, you'll know that I love Lisianthus. It's my favorite flower of summer. It's really the toughest flower that we grow here on the farm. I mean, you look at it, you think it's piping, like the icing piping on a cake, but it is tough. The vase life easily, we will get sometimes up to 10 days. Even I've got 14 before also. So we're still turning it. A lot of people will say, oh my goodness, you're really putting a lot of flowers in there. I like for our recipients to feel like they're having a lot of value in their bouquet. We have a lot in the field. You're cutting shorter stems, but I think it makes a statement when you really make them full. And then I'm going to look from here, and I have this really crazy fun celosia. He's losing a little seed, but look at the fan. It's a fan shape here. It's just a lot of interest when we like for our recipients of our bouquets to receive something they've never seen before. Because that, I think, we've talked about, like when you're continually learning about flowers, learning new things, it's just, you're more likely when they say, oh, so-and-so, I received this bouquet from 1818 Farms. So many unusual flowers I've never seen. Let me show you a picture. So we try to include a lot of things, what I would say, that are on the side of the unusual. And I like to tuck these larger ones just kind of into the side. And I may shorten him just a little bit. Let me switch it a little. Just because I want him just kind of peeping out of the top. Like he's just kind of like he's a surprise. He's kind of resting in here. Okay, then I want another focal here. We do a giant zinnia, still spinning. We're pretty fast at this. I'm going slower with you guys. A lot of times what people ask me is, I can't believe you don't just send a wrap bouquet. You're using a vase every time. But I feel like we're so quick at this. We do it so many times that, it's just second nature to us. So we've got in our focals, we have in our filler, and now what I like to add in next is going to be our spikes. I pulled in a little bit of this Selway celosia. I love how we're going to read the yellows from the tips. And, you have to be careful at this time of year. It is starting to go a little bit to seed. But if you can tuck it down deeper in the vase, you can, your customer is not going to see that. But see, now you're kind of pulling in all the different colors. You're pulling in a little bit here from the zinnia, from the Lisianthus, and we're tucking them in. And I'm spinning. I do a lot of things in threes. You'll be able to see odd numbers, except for Lisianthus. And then when I'm using those, sometimes you never know what's going to happen with those. Okay. It's looking really nice. And don't be afraid when you're doing your arrangement to go back in, pull things, adjust it. Look, this happens a lot. Look, I didn't even have the stem in here. We laugh about this all the time. You're really going quickly and you're like, look, the stem's not even in here. So I'm going to take it, step back, look at it again, and kind of go from here and see what I want to do next. The next thing I'm going to do is, because before I add more spikes, I want to look and really go into where I would use my other disc. And what we're using here are the Queen Lime zinnias here. We've got an Oklahoma here. And these are some little tiny cut and come agains that someone gave me the seed for. And I really like those just because it's it's just a different size. And we're going to just lay these down. I look for, just where I feel like I need a little bit of more color. Still spinning the bouquet. I love to have these small ones. Just looking out the top. And like I said, the biggest mistake I see new people who are doing arranging is they don't spin their container, and they get that it's not. You want your arrangement to be beautiful from any side that if you have it in display. And we're going to tuck this little guy, this Oklahoma, in here at the top. Okay. So it's looking really full now. It's looking beautiful, but I still want it to, add a few more things to it. And before I move into more spikes, I'm going to go into ageratum. I will say I've grown ageratum for years. This year, it's probably been one of our most used flowers. You really want to harvest it right as it's starting to open. These are a little bit more open, but they still will have a great vase life. But these are great for dried flowers also. I like the blue. You don't have a lot of blue flowers at this time of year, and it just pulls your eye, uh, away from. You have so many pinks, it kind of breaks it up for you. And we're still adding in, and this is going to give me a little bit of height. I classify the ageratum as air, and kind of like a touch of whimsy, as I was saying earlier. And this one's not in fives. I'm not sure. I think I just ended up with 4, but I think it's still going to look great. And you notice I'm still spinning the bouquet, trying to decide where we need this the most. And I think we want him back here. A lot of this is trial and error. I've done hundreds, probably thousands of bouquets, and you just get faster and better at it. So the next step that I'm going to, the process in this bouquet is I'm going to continue adding what I call spikes, and this is going to give me a little bit of height. And I'm going to go in, this is a celosia. It's similar to the flamingo feather, but it's a little bit darker. It's the first year we've grown it. I'm still deciding if I like it. It has a little bit of a strange growth habit. I don't know if any of you guys out there have grown it. The flamingo feather is so simple to harvest. This one is just very bushy, but I do love this deep burgundy rose purple color. So we're going to see, we really pinched it back hard today, and we're going to kind of see what happens in the field. But it is a color, and I think that pulls nicely with these zinnias especially, and this beautiful celosia. We may adjust him a little. Okay, now we're going to go into the flamingo feather, which I love, and you can probably hear here. It dries beautifully, and it also, as it opens, you have that it's kind of changes color. It looks like a soft pink, but then look how it pulls into the more fuchsia here. And I'm looking here, I need more height towards the top. I like to use also, one thing we didn't cut today because it's a little bit lower, is a great perennial to add into your garden is Veronica Schuyler. It's only been in the United States a few years. There is Veronica, but the growth habit of it is wonderful. It's wonderful long stems. It starts blooming here in 7A in early June and continues to go. We're at a little bit of a lull because we're in around 100 degrees right now. So I'm still looking, kind of deciding where I want these last flamingo feathers to go. And like, again, I'm in odd numbers here in 5s. I did the pink in 3s, and then I went into 5s because I think the white gives you a very, very, like, if you're thinking about it, something about white really makes your bouquets look crisp. We try to add something white, even though this is pink, it reads white also. So we're going to put this in. I need something coming on the side here. It's getting very full. And here we are so far. So now I kind of want to add just a little bit of more air, just something that's popping out of the top. I may not use all these. This is a bicolor rose gomphrena. I love how it has the deep pink, but then you pull the white in the tip. It dries beautifully. It's great and dried. And we're just going to kind of have him in the center. We cut, I think, 5 of these also. And like I said, we sort of know a recipe. Like, we know if we go to the computer this morning and we pull it up and we have X number of bouquets, it's very simple for us to know how many of each variety we're going to need. What are we going to use as the focal? And a lot of people ask me, and we touched on this earlier, why do you not sell the wrapped bouquets to your customers? Our delivery radius is about a 45-minute to an hour, probably 45 minutes radius. I don't necessarily know. I think they transport better, the system we use, when they are in vases. I think the customer, especially if you're going to consider yourself a farmer florist, rarely do you receive from a florist paper wrapped bouquets. what you want to do is, I think it's just all value added, and I'll tell you a few other things towards the end that we do as well. So right now, Cosmos are really coming in strong. We are going to, this would be considered a disc, but really when you cut a Cosmo, the appropriate time to cut the Cosmo is going to be as soon as the bud is cracking open, and it's going to continue to open. So we're just going to put a few of these in here coming out from the top. We're going to see how we like him just in a few areas. This is totally, maybe you could, at this point, you could be, the arrangement could be full, but I'm going to go ahead and just put a few more Cosmos that are getting ready to open. So when you're arranging, what we do is we offer 3 sizes. This will be considered our small bouquet. We have a medium, a large, and an extra large. So we do offer different sizes. One of the things we offer, I think it's very important to be personable with your customers. When I was speaking with Scott from the Flower podcast, I told him I like to get to know my customers. Like, they're more to me than just someone who purchased a bouquet from us. I want to know the colors they like. I like to know what's kind of, get to know your customers. So we write a lot of handwritten notes, whether it's a gift or let's say someone has purchased, let's say they've purchased 8 bouquets from us. I like to take time to make something, them feel personal and let them know my appreciation for their support of our farm. So a few things that we've done, and we've touched about this, is and you are, I think, in the long run, think about, I know as especially if you're a flower farmer and you're first getting started, just think about the little things that can differentiate you. And really, if you're a florist, if you're anyone, we do a beautiful card. This is me in the flower field with Cosmos. And then we take the time and do a handwritten message and let people know, these are flowers from our farm to you. Another thing that we do is we offer a bouquet care tip. And this is our flower truck, and our little lamb is riding in it. And you'd be surprised at the number of people who don't realize how to care for a flower arrangement. And so that's a little add-on too, that, just tips like don't leave it in direct sunlight, add fresh water, recut the stems. Very simple things that I just think will set you above and beyond your competitors. So this is going to be, like I was saying, the small. Very simple. We could probably make these, if we have everything cut, 5 minutes or less. I mean, I was a lot longer with you today because I was trying to go through the elements. And just to go back through our elements, we had the foliage or filler, the focal, the spikes, the disc, and what we consider air. And if you have any questions, you can message me with what I consider, it changes through the season. But you really need those elements. I love to grow zinnias, or I love to grow lisianthus. They're beautiful. But I really feel like if you just send me a straight bouquet of zinnias or lisianthus, it's not going to make the impression that a bouquet is going to make. So I encourage you, think about your filler, think about your foliage. That's what I think probably for us is the most challenging, is to make sure we have enough of everything. This was the one we kind of struggle with sometimes because of the heat here. Think about your elements, and if you're new to this, or if you've been doing this a long time, always think about how can I add value for my customers. And I think in the long run, they're going to appreciate it. Your brand is going to be at the top, foremost of their mind as they're ordering. And also, one other final reason I love bouquets like this is if I know when they receive them and when they're ready to snap a picture and post it on social media, it's going to look exactly the way that I hoped it would when it left. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave us a message, and we hope you're doing great and having a happy summer. And if you're growers, I know you're trying to get towards the very end of the year. We're almost there, and it'll be time to replant soon. And I hope you're all just, having a great day.